Hello again. We were back. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is Tuesday yet again. It's the only time we do these now is Tuesday. All right, so yeah, happy Tuesday. It has come up quick, and this is a huge episode. You've probably seen from the thumbnail, and we hope you're following along. Our friends Savage Geese, Jack, and Mark are with us. It's coming up in a little bit.
Excited to have them on.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. We're talking about their new monster piece, the 3 monster cars. That's going to be really fun to just kind of hear some behind the scenes there.
I mean, maybe you should watch it. Maybe you should stop this, go watch their piece, and then come back and watch, maybe. But on the other hand, I'm excited to get the inside sort of scoop.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have seen that piece already. That's been a really big piece. Also, thanks to all of you that have watched our lightweights piece. It's the exact opposite of their piece. They did the big heavyweights.
That's true.
We did the lightweights. So that is the Alfa 4C, the Lotus Elise, and the Alpine A110. All of them actual modern mid-engine cars, under 300 horsepower, under 3,000 pounds, fantastic to drive, and very illuminating. If you haven't seen that piece, we were surprised by some of the things we discovered. We'd love for you to watch that as well. Cool. But we have news. We have that big interview, which is going to be a monster. We have a couple of car debates, so it's a lot to cover already.
News up front, talking about what we all enthusiasts in North America, well, worldwide, want with the BRZ and the GR86, and that is what Subaru has now done, and to announce the Type RA, which stands for Record Attempt. That's right. The car encouraging you to go out and get your personal best, your PB, your personal record.
But it also suggests we haven't accomplished our goal, doesn't it? Doesn't record attempt mean, I don't know if we'll get there? Like record holder, like
maybe it's for your personal record attempt.
We'll see.
We're giving you the platform.
I'm overworking it. I'm sorry.
Do this. So it actually starts with the TS. The Type RA adopts that rear diff case with cooling fins from the Cup Car Basic. It benefits as well from the shift assist function developed in the Super Takayu series, with rev sync for downshifting and flat shift for upshifting without lifting. Really interesting and cool looking. So here is the prior version was the TS, prior image was TS, and this is that new, the thing that we all want Subaru, Toyota to do, that they're only introducing for the Japan-only market. I just thought I'd put it out there because it exists. Like I said, everything that we want out of this car would make it better. No word on power increase. It could take more power, but here's the factory doing it. They realize they've got a great car, so I'm just hoping for a third generation of this.
I'm hoping for, that's a great one. I hope for a third generation as well. I'm also really pleased with the fact that these cars are around and doing some well, and I'm hoping that we start seeing more and more and more of these for the next decade at Hooked on Driving. I hope these continue to be right there alongside the Miatas as just the cars that drivers can get into and can drive at all levels. We have in every level of Hooked on Driving, from novices through the folks that are running in the D group at just open passing.
Expert level driving.
Miatas, we're seeing 86s. I hope that continues because these are such great cars. And a third gen would be awesome. But I'm very curious what it'll be. I mean, you also heard the other bit of news. I don't think we have a photo for this, but just dawned on me. There's news out there as well that Toyota is killing the 3-cylinder engine in the GR Corolla and going to go to a 2-liter 4 with close to 400 horsepower in that car.
Appreciate the 3-cylinder. It sounds different. It's a different choice, but more power is...
But this is Toyota thinking about engine changes in their cars. What's coming here? Only time will tell. Other bits of news... Nissan has news. When's the last time I got to say Nissan has news? Nissan has enthusiast news.
Enthusiast news from Nissan?
I know. This is not the actual photo. This is, I'm showing the Red Sport 400 because it's the closest we've got right now. But Nissan is claiming that the Skyline is going to come back. Now, the Skyline is the historic lineup of what became the current GTR.
You say Skyline to any enthusiast, and they practically bow down.
Yes.
The car that walks on water.
The concept is essentially, for lack of a better way to put it, we're talking about a CT4 Blackwing competitor is what we're talking about. We're talking about a 4-door, 6-cylinder, rear-wheel drive manual transmission. They're claiming they're going to do all of the above for 2027. This has come out publicly from Nissan. Will they do it? The closest we've got are these photos of the Red Sport 400 right now, which was not a manual, but had a lot of the pieces. Again, this is the engine that's in the new Z car.
Yeah.
Nissan has the history, and they have the parts. Do they have the development dollars and, for lack of a better way to put it, just the sheer gumption? That's right, I said gumption, for them to actually do this. I hope so, because it's very cool.
Do you have the gumption?
Yeah, there's the new shirt from Nissan. Do we have the gumption? There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Like the triple dog dare. Can you do this? All right, last piece of news from me is from Stellantis and the vaunted Jeep brand. They are recalling 113,000 Wrangler 4xEs, primarily anything with that Turbo 4, that 4-cylinder engine in the 4xE, because the recall covers whether the car is being parked or driven. There's not another category.
So if you have one of these cars in your possession, please do not do anything. Yes.
If it's parked or driven, you shouldn't use this car. There's not another category for which we use cars. They're either parked or driven. But now, because of bad sand casting and debris potentially being left in the engines, and Stellantis is now aware of at least 36 fires and a lot of
36 too many, by the way.
Other problems with the car. 113,000 are now being recalled. So not only they're having the hybrid electrical issues, they're having the engine sand casting engine issues. It sounds bad.
That is a fantastic understatement. 36 fires and casting issues does sound bad. I'll give that to you.
This sounds bad. But Jeep is going to be Jeep. And I think they will always sell. They will always be attractive. They actually just came out with the Moab edition. And I think they will always be awesome off-road. And they will always be sought after by off-road enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And since they've been doing that 392 V8 with 470 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque, the six-pack Challenger is out, and everybody's saying the Challenger is now fixed, sort of, but they've got a great engine there that they could now drop into the Jeep now and put the 4xE behind them, put maybe the 392, maybe it still exists because V8s sound really great.
And they're on their way back at Stellantis, yes.
But you could now have a Jeep Wrangler with even more power because 550 horsepower out of the twin-turbo.
True.
6-cylinder, 531 pound-feet of torque. You could actually have a 6-cylinder that's probably a little bit lighter in the Jeep now.
Interesting point, yeah.
It's only a 3-liter, but it sort of harkens back to that cool 4-liter, the bulletproof 4-liter that was in the Jeep.
Forever,
Straight 6. They've got the V6 now, so maybe put the 4xE behind them and put that 6-cylinder in the new Jeep, and it makes even more power and torque, and that's the way forward, because again, people will always buy these. They were experimenting. The experiment didn't go so well, so now they've got a good engine to fix things.
But here's a question that raises, though, in my mind is, okay, they're going to do this recall. What are they actually going to do? What is that going to do to resale values of these? Because resale values of 4xEs are already terrible, but hang on. But post-recall, are they going to be the kind of thing where they're going to run for 100,000 miles? You don't have to think about it. Is this going to become a huge bargain? May as well get a 4xE, because for a time, the 4xE was the most popular way to get a Rubicon because there were so many discounts on the fact that it had an electric component. You could get a Rubicon for like 8 to 10 grand less than you could any other Rubicon if you got the 4xE. So what does this do to resale? What does this do to longevity? We don't know yet, but I'm curious.
But anytime a car company says, don't use our product, whether it's parked or driven,
yes,
doesn't matter what you bought the car for.
True. No, true.
Don't use it is the point. It could explode, or it'll catch on fire, or the engine will grenade itself.
That's all bad.
Never a good thing.
I'm very curious to see what the fix is and what the longevity is, because there is a possibility here that might be a deal somewhere down the line, because it happened to Bolts and lots of other things. We'll be very curious what they do. I mean, look, I'll go all the way to Porsche. Porsche, when they did the 991 GT3 and they replaced all of the engines.
That's true. Those are a bargain now.
That is the bargain way to get a GT3 911, and they're still great cars post-engine change. So what happens here? I just don't know.
Stellantis takes all these 4xEs, drops the 6-cylinder in as a
complimentary straight 6
thing.
Woo!
Takes the 4xE badging on, or leave it on and just who cares?
Leave your blue tow hooks and call it a day. The blue tow hook now means straight 6. That's not bad. I like it.
All right, we got to get the Geese boys on video here. We're going to talk to them. I want to hear all about everything. If you've got a debate, write to us, everydaydrivertv@gmail.com. And now we're going to talk to the Geese.
Since you're listening to us, you'll end up shopping for your next car. And when you do, you need Autotempest.com.
Any car, anywhere, at any price. Autotempest searches all the major car listing sites on the web, local or nationwide. And Autotempest has recently added price history for every car listed, so you can see how prices are trending and know if you found a good deal. You can also create search alerts and lists of saved searches, so you can find your perfect spec even easier the next time.
Search on any device, in your browser, or as an app for Apple or Android. New, used, or unexpected, Autotempest is how we search for cars. Go to Autotempest.com/everyday so they know we sent you. Autotempest, all the cars, one search. Hi, guys. Thanks for being with us. It's great to have you here. It's been too long.
Nice to see you guys.
It's been too long.
Hello.
So
Nice to see you.
do we call you Savage Geese plural? How does this work?
Yeah, I think the Geese is normally what people have called us from OEMs.
Yeah.
Just the Geese at this point.
Yeah, I just was curious how you typically get referred to, because I mean I hear people refer to you both as Savage Geese. I'm like, isn't that kind of more Mark? So then Jack's got the anyway, but it's all good. It's great to see you guys. You guys have been killing it of late, and everyone has seen. I hope everyone at this point has seen the big monster piece that you did that everybody wants to do, which is of course the Mustang GTD, the ZR-1, and the GT3 RS with manufacturer support. I mean that's a huge throwdown.
I have so many questions for you guys. Lots of questions. A lot of them involve Nissan Muranos to start with, but that's the bulk of my questions.
Nothing says thanks for being here to an engineer like a convertible Nissan Murano. I mean, that really just says thanks for coming, doesn't it? Yeah.
Like, what was the disappointment on everybody's face when you rolled that out? Who does it belong to? Where did you get it from? I need to know. Everybody needs to know. Where did the Murano come from?
Well, I'll have you start.
Yeah.
Walk us through the how you went. You know what, Jack? I'm gonna spend $12,000 of my own dollars on a Murano Cross Cabriolet.
This is yours?
It had been.
You own this?
Yeah, it is. I own it.
On
I
purpose?
personally own it. It's not a business. It's a personal expense.
Are you a realtor?
I should be. I'd probably make more money.
Probably.
Rolling around in that. There's no property I couldn't move. The story really is just we were joking around about this car for like 5 years, and it was like COVID. I wanted to buy it, but the prices ballooned up to like $20,000. You couldn't find one that was not like in junkyard condition for under $20K.
What?
So I waited.
$20,000. What?
But I love the fact that he's stalking them. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah,
Not only does he want to buy one, but he's going to stalk them until the prices are better. Anyway, keep going, Mark.
I'm going to get this.
So, I waited it out, and, to be fair, there's not a lot of them. They didn't make a lot.
No.
Weird, huh?
Why didn't they make a lot, Mark?
Well, there's two reasons. One, it was everybody.
They were too weak to embrace.
Emotionally, people couldn't handle what they were buying. But the other part is it was very expensive. I mean, it was like a $50,000+ car. So, nobody's buying that.
Sure, yeah.
So as it turns out later on, obviously it had a great production run for like 2 years and or like 3 years. And now on the used market, they're either in the junkyard because the tops have no parts. All the parts are discontinued that are specific to the cross cab.
Of course.
Because dealerships can't fix it. And if they do fix it, it takes too many book hours and it was a loss leader.
Sure. Of course. Sure. Right.
So I found one later on. This was like 2 years ago. I flew to Tennessee in Nashville to meet this guy like in a parking lot. And he didn't know who I was, thank God, because he was dead serious about it. And I bought it for $12,000, basically sight unseen, and just showed up. I'm like, please put the top up and down. He's like, oh yeah, it's gold. He put it up and down, and it went up and down twice. And I'm like, okay, that's probably good enough. And I drove it home from Tennessee, and I was very, very nervous. But the thing really is, it's a Nissan drivetrain, other than the CVT. I'm getting way too in the weeds with this. I'm getting too serious.
but I think it's amazing.
Serious
Yeah.
now.
We bought it as a joke for a video. Was it last year or the year before?
I don't remember. So it's probably 2 years ago now.
Your April Fool's video, right?
Yeah, like a mockumentary on the creation of the Murano. And I'm like, Mark, we got to get rid of this thing. Now that the video's over, he's like, I can't get rid of my baby.
I think, it's one of those shit purchases that you make that now I have some affinity towards. And I know I'm going to lose so much money on it that I don't want to sell it.
Well, see, maybe not. You might have parked your money. If they were $20,000, you got it for a steal, and it's been memorialized in this video and your April's Fool videos. Maybe not.
I'm horrified at the prospect of parking your money in a Nissan Murano,
Because
but we'll see. Yeah.
People will say, this was Mark's.
This was the goose.
This
was the goose
This
mobile.
belonged to the
Yes.
geese.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Have you seen it?
Does your wife love it?
Oh, she hates it.
Okay, I'm just curious. Okay, good. Because the story is
She
that it was
hates
made
it.
for Carlos Ghosn's wife, right? That was the story on the car.
Yes.
There's absolutely nothing redeeming about the car particularly. I mean, I found the joy in it, in the comedy aspect. When we had Multimatic and Ford out for the GTD video. Oh, this is before the comparison. And Jack's like, talking cars with these guys. And I'm like, well, let me show you my fleet next door. So I pulled them in the other garage. And these guys were most excited, not by anything else, but they wanted to see the Murano. And that was the joy they got from that entire trip. So it has this X factor of being the worst car ever, but people get excited for it because it's so bad.
Also, the license plate is genuinely player.
Yeah.
Like, that is the actual license plate on the car.
Yeah.
Oh, it's perfect. Perfect. So outside of a video, do you ever even drive it?
I did this year a couple times, and I had to do the emissions testing on it, which is BS. It's just like OBD2, and then I'm like, I can't let this thing sit. So I had the diff changed, or the transfer case fluid changed, the diff, and then I did the oil again because it had sat for a year.
Sure.
And all the mechanics were like, dude, this thing is clean. Like, we've never seen a Nissan come in here so clean before.
See, and they're going to probably make you an offer. Like, they'll keep their eye on you whenever you bring them
So the
back.
reason we're talking about this so much is I'm hoping to use you as a way to boost the price of this.
So you get your money out of it. I understand. I totally understand. Hey,
weird.
If we can swing the cabriolet market, that'll be quite an
That
accomplishment.
might have backfired.
That's pretty impressive, I have to admit. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
So needless to say, this big comparison, getting all the manufacturers together and all this, this has been literally my baby, because it's taken 9 months to put together, legitimately.
I believe it.
Honestly, probably longer than that. I think I first approached GM over a year ago when we did our first ZR-1 piece.
Sure.
They said, the engineers said yes, right away. And then it was about getting the PR folks to say yes. Porsche was the easiest yes in the world. We just had this conversation today. At least for us, our relationship with Porsche now is that because they're such a small PR team, getting them to say yes it's like 2 checks. It's one person says yes, the second person says yes, and the project's off the ground.
That's amazing.
Where with the big 3, it's various levels of people have to say yes. Has to go all the way up to senior leadership.
Bureaucracy, Jack?
So in the
Really?
end,
That's weird. At the big 3? That's so strange.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
So 9 months, and in the end, really, who pulled it through was the engineers.
Cool.
It really came down to the Corvette engineers and folks like Steve and Greg Goodall, the folks at Ford Racing, and all the guys at Multimatic on that side to bring the 2 American cars to this, and they were all for it. And the Murano came in because the intro on all of this video is so serious for largely no reason, but it's $1 million worth of cars. Yeah. With 2,000 horsepower worth of vehicles, and it's so nauseatingly serious, because at the end of the day, all these cars are just toys.
Of course.
Right? You aren't curing cancer with any of them. I'm like, how can we make this stupid? So we brought the Murano on day 2 or 1 of our 3-day shoot. All the engineers are like, wow. And we always thank engineers in all our videos for being them, the PR folks. Yeah. I'm like, how about we put all of you guys in this car and get your credits that way? And Steve Thompson from Ford Racing said this was the greatest thing he'd ever done in his entire career.
Well, at least, he's had a career at Ford to wind up in that moment. That's perfect. I love it. Good.
Well, along those lines, I have to compliment you guys on the video. You're right. It is serious, and you guys did such an incredible, thorough job. I really enjoyed it. I think it's reflected in the view count. People are really enjoying it. People have, been incredibly complimentary. You guys really did those cars justice. The thought that came to my head was, it's a well-known fact, car companies buy examples of other competitive cars in their studios, the engineering teams especially. I'm willing to bet $5 there is no chance any of these other companies were able to acquire that other car for an engineering teardown or anything comparatively. So my question to you guys is, was this the first time any of those other engineering teams had seen their competitor model? Because all 3 of these cars are based on ring times, really. That's all they all brag ring times.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Have any of the other teams, were they covert? Did they sort of, I'm not really interested, but secretly they were really interested, and the Porsche guys went over to the Ford and the Ford guys went over to the Vet? And was it the first time they'd seen it? Did they show interest? Did they even get in it? Did other teams allow that? Is that even like allowed? Can you do that?
So I'll cover the first half of it. Is the brands oftentimes will not want to say that they do it, but they do buy the cars, right? If they are available, they will buy it for
if they're available.
Competitive analysis.
But in this case, they were hard to obtain cars, were they not?
No, the ZR-1, obviously they had a Z06.
Okay,
right? So they've all driven Z06. ZR-1 and GTD, no. There was no like real cross comparison with that because they were not available. But the GT3 RS,
Ford bought one for GTD development.
Yes. So they had experience in the 992.1 and
Sure.
.2 to a certain extent with cars. So they knew the Porsche pretty well. And I think that was a benchmark in certain ways.
Yeah.
Clearly in dynamics and like what it was bringing to the table and inputs. But yeah, it was the Wild West for the other brands to look at these two new cars. And I think getting them together, you know, again, that was my goal in doing this. Jack was very focused on like, let's pull these teams together. Let's see if we can get everybody together, which proved to be the most difficult part about this, by the way. And then for me, it was how do I make this about the people and trying to get not only viewers together, but the engineers and the brands together where they're just talking, you know, because everything's so behind closed doors and everybody's in silos. Once as you're an engineer, you get to start working on these cars and you're working on this one project, you're on to the next, and you don't get a chance to really get excited by it because you're always working on something else. And this was a moment in time where they could stop and just interact and appreciate what they were doing. And that was the general consensus that I felt throughout this whole thing, even though they were all doing their own things and making sure the cars were set up. They were very like human. This was not a like us versus them thing, you know.
That's cool.
We hosted basically our own mini press event. We did 3 nights and days of lunches and dinners with these guys where we did everything we could to get all the teams to interact with one another. I felt like putting some children on a play date. You know, day one was a bit tense, a little bit, and then I mean, honestly, the Corvette guys that showed up are tremendous people, and obviously the Porsche folks are the folks that you know are really, really fun, and they love cars. And you know, the guys at Multimatic and Ford who showed up also are some of our favorite people we've met. So you put all these great people in a room and you get them to hang out. It was pretty fun, almost immediately, and they genuinely seem to enjoy each other's company. It was fun to see how they all got to talk to one another about the different company cultures associated with it, and the pros and cons associated with that. It was different than I thought. Also, going into it result-wise, GM was genuinely shocked that they did as well as they did, because this was the first time anyone had gotten a real pro driver behind the wheel of all 3 cars at the same time, in the same conditions, back to back to back to back. They all had their own, ring times or lap times, but as you know, GM used their engineers.
Right.
Ford used a German pro, and obviously Porsche used Jörg Bergmeister. So, we were both surprised, to be honest, as well by the results. I expected them to be a lot closer. Autobahn South is a track I know you guys drove like 10, 15 years ago at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while. I keep watching the video going,
it's not a...
I remember that corner, but I mean, you guys know like the back of your hand, of course.
Yeah.
It's not a big track, right? And a 3-second from the first to the last place spread is big. Heck, a 2-second spread is large. So the fact that there was that big of a gap between the cars, and the engineers from the respective OEMs are like, yeah, that's about as fast as we can expect our individual cars to run around here, given the conditions, right? We set confines among all the brands of, you get 2 sets of tires, and you get 2 full sessions, essentially, to set a lap with Britt. And he's yours. From Britt's perspective, our pro driver, Britt Casey Jr., all he cares about is going fast, right? He has no brand biases. He just wants to, he's like a robot. He wants to go quickly. And I mean that in the best way possible. All he cares about is going fast, and he did. Those are some of the fastest times anyone's ever set around that track in a non-race car.
And I think Britt, the driver, we've worked with him for a while, and he's unique in the fact that he really has to work for his job to be a race car driver. This was not handed to him. So every time he gets a seat, this is survival. And him coming out there, he lives and breathes it. It's not like, we get to joke around about it as like journalists of like we're very self-aware that we basically we're not very that important.
Yeah.
And Britt understands that he has to survive, and I had never seen him drive and so focused as when he did this. And I think he's had so much seat time in the Porsche. He's had a ton of time in the Corvette, the Z06, and the other iterations. And then he just came off of a race weekend with was it GT3?
No, Dark Horse R.
Dark Horse R.
okay.
So he had a really good blend of all of these cars coming into this where it wasn't like he was coming in cold. So he really knew how to drive all three of these cars. And I think it was very, very representative of what the cars could do.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's great. I didn't realize he had kind of enough experience to extrapolate from prior in all three. That's excellent. That's really cool.
Well, I also noticed that he was able to articulate what he was feeling in a way that was easily understandable. It was bite size. Jack, when you were sitting with him, he was articulating, here's what this feels like, and able to articulate those differences, because I think that's a hallmark of a great driver, really, because that's what they're asked to do when their team. How did it feel? What changes do we need to make when we're coming back in, given the conditions, given the race, whatever that is? And I found it really helpful, because not every race car driver can do that, even though they're paid
True.
to be able to do
True.
that. That is part of their job too. But I felt like that was, it was good to hear those sort of bite-sized chunks, if you know what I mean, from him after every, I noticed this, it was faster here. And, I know this inherently, but when he said the underbody aero is a wear item, well, yeah, but it was just fun to like have that reinforced, it's like, right. Yeah. Everything's a wear item really on these cars.
And I think working with him, the interesting part about working with a race driver, to Jack's point, is where we step in, because Britt doesn't come at it from, okay, what is it like to deal with this as a car that is not a race car? We've helped each other to bridge the gap, right? Because these cars are not race cars. So there's requirements that we expect kind of on the journalistic side of what should it do at the limit and what should it do as a street car, and more the feel conversation of how these cars deliver an experience to you as a driver, where as a race car driver, they are not concerned with those things.
It's irrelevant.
They want to know, is the car balanced? Can I drive the wheels off of it? Is it predictable as you get into degradation over the long term? He doesn't really care about the nuances of how everything is perfected as a feel experience. So we're able to help each other understand, like, yes, the brakes work on the Corvette to make a great lap time. But we also bring to the table, Britt, you can't feel anything. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. You really don't feel anything, So
Right.
it's this balance part that I've really got excited about in doing some of these comparison videos that you can't really do any other way, or you could do it another way. But I think it's really helped to see multiple sides, not just our side, but the engineer's side, right? Like, why did they do it? How did they do it? And then hearing on the back end, which we can't talk about, but a lot of the stuff that like, we wish we could have done this, but this is the realities of business. So having all these pieces gives me and gives us a much better appreciation of how to tell the story in a respectful way, and also not just watering everything down. Britt, like, my thing is, I told Britt the first time we had him drive a car, I do not want you to be a parody. I don't want you to be a personality. I don't want you to be a social media meme of like cardboard race car driver in like the Top Gear shtick.
Yeah, not doing stick.
I want you to be a person, and I want you to be respected for your ability of how hard you worked to get to this place of being able to drive a car and explain it. And that's kind of our philosophy, or my philosophy is, let's know what we're talking about. And that way you, over time, you get to a place where people start to respect the work that you put in. And that's what this video was, is like, it just didn't come together. The cars didn't just come together. They just didn't throw this together.
Yeah.
It's like basically a lifetime of work to get to this place.
Because you guys are sort of our spiritual kins in this space, in that we're not owned by a large corporation. We don't have unlimited budgets to do a $40,000 shoot, right? You guys are like us in that it's
Totally.
You guys have a couple folks that help you like we do, but it's really just the two of you doing everything all the time. I'm gonna quick sidebar. we met you probably, or I met you probably 5 or 6 years ago, and you are easily some of the nicest people I've ever met doing this job. So I just wanted to say that when we were way smaller, I told this to Mark the other day. I'm like, I'm so happy that we got to meet you guys because you're every bit as nice and as kind as we wanted you to be, or hoped you'd be watching your videos from when you guys first started doing this.
Jack grew up watching you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's younger, but he grew up watching you guys. And then when he went to that press trip, you know, it was
Kia
the first,
Telluride, Mark.
Yeah, Kia Telluride. It was the
right.
first time, like, you know, he went on this trip and he saw you guys, and it was like weird for him to see somebody that he watched and respected, and then, you know, like, there's that thing where you
Don't meet your heroes, but you guys are actually genuinely nice people.
We try, but I mean, but we've talked about this. Thank you. We've talked about this with you guys before, and that is, it is very easy, and I know you guys struggle with this, and so do we. It is very easy after you get into another silver 5-seat egg to be like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding, and to just be over it. But then I have to always zoom out and be like, I get to do this for a living. I can't believe it, and I'd like to infuse that into the videos that we do and have that come out to the audience. But then also, if you meet us, we're two guys that talk about cars. There's nothing grand about who I am. So if I can't be cool and excited about the fact that I get to talk about cars for a living, I kind of missed it, I feel like. So I appreciate you saying that, but I try really hard, and sometimes it is a conscious effort to be like, this is a terrible car, I don't want to drive. But this is also my entire workday. So, okay. All right, I'll buck up. You know what I mean? So, but I'm glad. And you're right, Jack. We have been around long enough now that we have a lot of people like, I grew up watching you. It's like, oh dear God, I am that old. Okay,
Sorry.
No, it's valid. It's totally valid. You were far from the first to say that. That's the thing. Because it was 2007 that we put on our first YouTube video. And we were invited into the beta program of YouTube's, hey, we should put ads in front of stuff. We got the email from YouTube. They're like, do you want to be a part of this? It still hasn't benefited us that much, but hey, it's you know, it's better than nothing. So YouTube is certainly not the way any of us survive. And I know that I'm not telling you anything you guys don't know, but you know, I was thinking about this recently. You know, there is that ongoing YouTube perception. You know, and I actually want to hear from you guys at some point what your current garage is. But I mean, you have a GT4 and I have an Amira. Two cars that candidly we would not have if not for the show.
Yeah.
But then unfortunately, it also perpetuates that reality of YouTube, dude, I just make so much money. I just bathe in money. And also you and I have compounded it because we live in Park City, Utah.
Yeah.
Where the prices of our homes have skyrocketed so far that we couldn't begin to afford our own houses. But it's just like, I live in Park City and I drive an Amira. YouTube money is the impression, and it's just not the case. So, I mean, you guys have got sponsors. We've got sponsors. That's the way it works and survives. But you guys also have the distinction or the difficulty or the whatever of getting manufacturers to send you cars in Chicago to put on Autobahn. And, you know, we are a little bit of an island as well because we're not that close to any press fleet. But I can't believe you guys got all three of those cars out front of everybody else. Do you think of this as your biggest thing? Because you guys have done some big stuff.
Probably, that's hard. So the delegation of work from the back end, we've talked about this before. Mark does all the editing, and I probably do, in our regular videos, I do most of the filming at this point, and then our big projects, Mark's the one dangling out of the back of the car, and I'm the one babysitting the OEMs and trying to make sure the production moves along.
Sure.
I think in work, this was not, in sheer like hours of work, this was not the biggest project as far as like filming and editing and travel, but as far as like logistics of balancing, going back to the earlier part of managing relationships between the OEMs, like because we don't have a giant name associated with us, like you guys don't. We're not a Car and Driver, we're not a Motor Trend, we're not a Haggerty. It's a lot of managing the relationships with the OEMs, trying to build the trust over the years to get to this place. Yeah, I mean, that becomes the hard part. And a lot of it too, like now that because of our sort of odd approach where it's like cars but more human-centric and meaning like, hey, here are the people responsible for it, you realize that a lot of these people, this is sort of their like their life's work or their cool thing they get to do in their 35-year career. So on their end too, I understand why they're so precious with these cars. They're like, they don't want to give them to some asshole that doesn't know anything about them who's going to ball them up and, you know, shit all over their life's work, which to be fair, we weren't necessarily positive about all three of these cars. So building the trust with the engineers to be like, hey, I'm going to be negative about your car. Here's why. and hopefully this improves your vehicle. I know in our case, our criticisms, at least on the GM side, has had them reevaluate some things internally about how they approach development for their vehicles. Back in E-Ray to ZR-1X, they changed some of their SOC logic for their current car. I know they're trying to figure out how to improve brake feel, which is a problem actually across the industry with people who use electronic brake boosters.
Yeah.
So it's that, I think that's been the difficult part. But yes, it's sort of a culmination of everything has made it our biggest project. But the actual work part, I still think the NSX documentary that nobody watched is by far the worst thing we've ever had to put together as far as work for this guy.
Yeah, tons of work.
Is that a fair statement, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, you asked what the biggest one is. I don't ever feel like there's a biggest one. I don't look at it like that. I think about usually the biggest ones are the ones that I personally develop the most out of. And that's how I view what I do, because I know I'm no longer interested in like the shiny object of new cars. I'm interested in how things work and explaining that to a fault. So for me, the more I can get out of a project personally in terms of meeting people and understanding their work and how things work, that's the best case scenario for me. So I feel like this project, we didn't learn very much.
No, we didn't. Because we'd already driven all three cars.
Sure.
It was more of the part of putting them together.
Because you had the individual videos
it was
of all
more
three.
about the challenge. This one was because Jack had promised so much.
Yeah, pretty much.
He worked on this to try to get this done for so long that it became a transition of like, okay, it's happening, now don't mess this up. So it was on me to basically execute his promise to film, record, audio, like everything, and then edit this thing together. And I think you guys know this better than anybody else, being an independent. I don't get to farm out the writing, the filming, the editing.
You mean the lack of writing?
The colorist, like the colorization, all of the technical part, I'm responsible for that. And that's where the weight gets very heavy for me personally. That's where this project was, it's complicated because of that. I have to do all that, but it wasn't the hardest one, and I don't think it was the biggest. Okay. Sorry, that's a very long answer to a very
I wanted to get your perspective because, as you're already saying, we dive way into the post-production as well, and a lot of people don't. And so I'm just kind of curious. And then all the setup to get those cars together same day. I mean, you've had the stories, we've had the stories of, we have a shoot on Tuesday. Nope, no, we don't anymore. Not as of Monday night. So all that kind of stuff and managing all of that. And so I was just curious to hear your perspectives. That leads me to two questions. They're kind of stacked on top of each other. And that is, for Mark, are you just a bad passenger generally? And for Jack, is your purpose now to try to make Mark sick?
So the truth is like, I think it's, some of it has to do with age and fatigue of this hamster wheel that we're on.
Sure.
I don't get a recovery time, and I was just complaining to Jack about this. I always do that. Complaining to Jack that I don't get a reset button, that it's a 7-day-a-week thing.
Yeah.
And that's the life of this, and that's fine. But when we get out there to do some of these very fast car shoots, like we had Andy the Lab Deb, come out to help with B-roll, like gimbal stuff, because I just couldn't do everything myself. And she was in the van while I was hanging out the van, and she was just car sick being in the van while I was hanging out the back getting the car to car. And it's a culmination of a day's worth of work of me having to do this.
We shot the drives last.
Yes.
And the ZR-1, despite being the first car in our video, was the last car we drove.
So it's becoming cumulative over time over the course of your day. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so I'm car sick already at the first part of the day, and I haven't even driven a car. I'm just filming and hanging out of a car, moving in reverse because I'm getting thrown around in reverse. And then, because I don't use remote rigs. I just don't find the value of them and the price, the return of them and the setup. And maybe when we have a cajillion dollars, I'll do that. But it's manual labor. So by the time we get into these cars, and then mounting, and then thinking about like, what do we say? How do I drive it safely? I'm car sick after he drove the first time, and then I got to go drive a GT3 RS back to back, and I'm car sick driving the car. So I'm already done, and then we're in the ZR-1, which was the fastest car, and there's no place to hold on to. It's like nonstop, and there's so much torque in the car. It's the braking and all that. And it just hit me, like I made it to the end, and then Jack's like, well, we're going to talk about turning off the stability control system. Like, I thought we were done, and I held on to that point. He's like, no, we're going to turn everything off. And I knew he was going to go sideways, and it instantly made me want to vomit. And I'm like, I knew it was coming up. But that was after a whole day of just constantly being sick the whole day. And I thought I was going to puke in that car. I was that close.
That's honestly, I think that's the closest you've been. And the funny part too is in the ZR-1, I left things on because I'm like, all right, Mark isn't feeling that well. I'm going to go through this drive and drive quickly but respectfully, like no sideways shenanigans like in the GTD. No, I don't think he's actually, I just resign myself when I sit in the passenger seat. I'm like, it's like being on a roller coaster. There's nothing you can do about it. And as long as I mostly trust you, and this might be an age thing, I'm like, all right, as long as we don't go into the wall, this will probably be fine. And that's like, I silent the engineer part of my brain. Like, I won't get into a car with a stranger, but if I get in it with like one of you guys or like a pro driver or Mark or somebody I've been in the car with before, I'm like, I'll probably be fine. And I just, I turn on like the 12-year-old boy brain, like, oh, this is a grand old time.
Sure.
But every so often, I do overdrive for the sake of seeing Mark squirm in the passenger seat.
That's what I've seen.
We've noticed.
I feel like there's just this part of you that just wants to be like, if I can make Mark uncomfortable, I'm going to start laughing, and I can't control myself. It's awesome. I just wanted to ask about how much that was the intention.
That's what Jack's laughing about.
Yeah, exactly.
He's enjoying the car.
He's getting sicker. Anyway.
I do generally. I got out of the ZR-1 and I got out of the car and I just the engineers were waiting as we pulled into the garage and they're just like, is everything okay? I'm like, I fucking hate this. That was like my first words to them of like, it was just so miserable. It's a miserable, like it's not fun.
It's not a good passenger car
being thrown
at all.
around, like no place to hold on and try to have a serious conversation about this while this guy's trying to make you car sick as much as possible.
Perfect partnership.
It's not
perfect.
fun,
I love it.
but it's also funny, like in the short drives where Jack, we have one car to film and I'm not car sick, where he can throw you around and you actually find the humor in it. I had no humor in that at all.
I do think one of my favorite drives we had done together, and it was me trying to behave, was a long time ago. We did the new GTS drive. And it's like a boyhood moment for me. I'm chasing my childhood hero, Jorg Bergmeister, around the track, and I'm somehow driving, because Jorg is not driving slowly. He is driving fast, because we had chased him a couple times at a couple different events. I'm trying to keep up with him. It's at the Ascari circuit, which is a wonderful track.
Wow, fantastic.
So flat out, I'm just watching Mark's life force as we have one take to do this, leave his body in real time. And I remember him getting out of the car, and the head of PR and one of the lead engineers looked at Mark and burst out laughing. It is one of my, it is a core memory for me. Anyway, that's something I distinctly remember doing this. To ask you guys a follow-up question, sort of going back to the video, was this what you guys were expecting? You guys, I don't know if you've driven a ZR-1 yet, but you've driven a 3 RS, I know for a fact.
3 RS, we have not driven the GTD or the ZR-1 actually. We've driven the Z06, and that's as high as it's gone at this point. But
is this what you were expecting, or you were not expecting? I know you're a Porsche guy.
Knowing what you guys do and knowing how you break it down and your brain, both your brains, and how you approach it, it absolutely was. So in that sense, it felt satisfying. Like I felt like I got what I need to understand the car more, but I don't still, having not driven it, I don't have that feeling. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm always, okay, great that it's the fastest thing. Do you like it?
Yeah. Are you having fun? Yeah.
Is it fun? Do you enjoy it? And I think that's kind of why, spoiler alert, everyone, that's why I was kind of surprised at your choice. And I like that both of you actually put a stake in the ground and weren't like, all three of these cars are fast and they're all great and choose what you like and, good job. You actually said, no, I don't like that, or I do like this. And I appreciated that from you, but it was, so in that sense, it felt satisfying. I liked that you were seemingly, Mark wasn't, but Jack, you were enjoying yourself. I think so. I think it was satisfying. The thing that we always tell our audience, and I think, you guys do too, and that is despite all the numbers and the stats and the spec sheet, is it a good car? Do you like it? I mean, are we all looking forward to the day when Mustang GTDs are $75,000? Or are we not looking forward to that day?
I take your point. Well, but you guys are, I mean, and you're known for it, and you're great at it. You guys are a much more meticulous engineering approach than we ever are. So your driving impression thing of this is exactly the kind of approach that Paul and I would take, because you've already done your big engineering deep dives in other individual videos, and your pro driver has already gone around and done back-to-back. And I love the fact that you guys can put same person, same day, same car stuff. I mean, that's the stuff that hardly ever gets done anymore. And Jack, you and I talked about the fact that the magazines that do the car of the year and put up lap times, the weird oddball there is not the fact that it's a different year, but the fact that it's a different driver every year. So you have here's our lap time, but it's like, well, but a different guy was driving last year, or would be driving next year. So that is really cool that you had all three together doing that. What we're going to do in all cases is going to be the driving impressions thing. And just which one do we like and why? Because ultimately, from the core of what we do as a brand is just, are you having fun? Mm-hmm. And that gets real subjective. And we just had this piece that we dropped that was the right around the time you guys did it, but it's older cars, but we're excited about it. It's the Elise, the 4C, and the Alpine A110. And it's been fascinating to read people's comments there, especially owners, because it goes right back into the core of, are you having a good time? And which one spoke to you the most? And I appreciated that you guys gave those comments there. And I guess I wasn't surprised that the ZR-1 was fastest. I was surprised by how much. I kind of expected going in that it would be the one that would be like, there it is the fastest.
Yeah.
And I expected the Mustang to be last, but I expected the margin to be like, oh, well, it's a good thing we timed it. You know what I mean? Because it's just fractions. And that was the thing that really surprised me.
To clarify to the listeners, if they haven't watched the video, the ZR-1 holds a lap record at Autobahn Country Club, and it's legitimately as fast as
a street car record.
As a street car record. It's faster than like an actual GT4 car to go around the track on selects. It ran a 1:22.3 and change. The next fastest car was the GT3 RS. It ran a 1:24.1, and the GTD ran a 1:25 and some change, like a 1:25.3 or 1:25.4. So there's a big spread between them. You know, objectively, we gave it to the ZR-1 because you have to.
Of course.
It's the cheapest car there. Yeah. It's the only car that you could reasonably, I don't want to say afford, but you'll be able to buy one day. They're going to go down in price.
Yeah. You're
going to be able to get one. You can get it as a convertible. You can drive it year-round. The second place was for us, the GT3 RS, objectively. With half the wheel horsepower, it only was a little less than 2 seconds a lap slower, which the engineers at GM were thinking the GT3 RS would be faster. Talking to them, a lot of them expected the GT3 RS to be quicker because it was faster around the ring with York driving than it was with Brian driving the car. I believe that's correct. Brian driving the ZR-1 around the ring. I will say different times, as we just talked about, different drivers, different days, all make an enormous difference. Autobahn Country Club is how these track tests happen. They're our partner track. We love them to death for it, but even running there, different times of the same year on the same track, ambient conditions, how rubbered in a track, they'll vastly change how fast a car is. And I'm not saying like tenths of seconds difference on the same track, different conditions, same driver can be. I'm not saying like wet or dry. I'm saying just conditions of the track. That was surprising for us, but subjectively, I gave it to the GTD because it fits what I like in cars, which is big, stupid animal in the best way possible.
Sure. Sure.
It's just this huge house.
Yeah.
You're driving around a racetrack with enormous amounts of both mechanical and aero grip. And from a sound perspective, all the other teams said the same thing. It sounds like the world is coming to an end when you're driving this car. You have the full titanium exhaust out the back. You hear supercharger whine from miles away. You could be in the pits on like the pit in and out of Autobahn, and on the back straight, you could hear this loud whine like on the other side of the racetrack that sounded like it was right there, which was, going back to the 12-year-old part of my brain. I'm like, yes, I want that. And then the GT3 RS and the ZR-1 were closer to me, tide-wise. I'd driven the ZR-1, and that's the other time I made Mark sick, but you kind of did it to yourself. Like, oh, let's, on this 100-degree day, turn off all the cooling in the ZR-1 around Coda, and then Jack drive flat out.
No, I didn't say turn it off. I said turn the fan speed down.
It
was like fan speed was on 1, not to mess up the audio.
so
I understand.
the car baked you. But at Coda, the ZR-1 is more fun than the 3RS because of the danger part. But at Autobahn, because it's tight, danger meaning the speed.
Yeah.
At Autobahn, just because the 3RS is just such a weapon, as you guys know.
Yeah.
It's like, it is a driving tool.
For sure.
Not even an experience, it is a tool.
Absolutely.
You use it
Absolutely.
to drive around a racetrack.
Did you say the GM team had acquired a GT3 RS? Did both?
Ford bought a 3RS. Not surprising, as I would do if I worked for Ford Racing, developing this car.
I was just
And then
curious, just
GM
because I'm surprised that they were surprised thinking the GT3 RS would have been faster. I mean, it's not all about power, as you've just articulated, but I find that really fascinating that they were sort of genuinely shocked.
Different drivers, different days.
Yeah. The one thing I'd add about it is, like, I know Jack was talking about these cars, and I know you guys were talking about the whole, does it make you happy or excited, or does it deliver something? At the end of the day, that's what's more important to people. Because a lot of times don't really mean anything to anybody. For somebody to go out and hit the lap time that Britt had is not going to happen, really, for 99+%
the
of the
team
course.
set up the cars for
Yeah.
Britt to run the lap times. Yeah.
It's pointless. It's just a metric for the video, but you guys do it right. You always have done it right by having so much discussion about what that means to people. And I think we've learned a lot from how you approached it when we started this stuff, or at least I did.
No, I did as well, of course. I grew up watching them.
Like the benchmark stuff, like who are you looking at? Not that we're copying you, but there's ways that you've approached what you do that made it super accessible to people, where I learned before I started doing it, doing the video stuff. But in terms of the benchmarking part of the cars they buy, you know, it's weird to find out that a lot of these brands, despite them being able to buy these cars, not everybody gets to drive them on the development team.
Yeah.
It's the corporate red tape of, like, at least, I don't want to name the names of the brands here, but one of the brands, there were people that were in development of the car that never got to drive it. Even when it was in production and going to customers, they still had.
We drove it before the engineer, like some of the engineers who actually worked on the car did, which is nuts.
And that's how it goes, because they have their licensing structure internally that allows them to certain people to be able to drive certain cars of a certain class, and they have to go through this, and then it becomes a phobia because it took so much to get them to be able to drive their own cars that they're working on, that when they go to do driving development, they still are kind of on the I gotta be careful here type thing.
Sure.
And that was something surprising to learn, and that also means that not everybody on the development team got to drive the competitive benchmark cars either. So
Or got to drive them flat out. Like, I know in the case of when Ford and GM buy like a GT3 RS or GT2 RS, because GM didn't have a 3RS, they had a 2RS, which is still in their fleet that they've been running around, and that car is obviously very, very fast.
Yeah,
Still
for sure.
impressive, obviously. Yeah.
They, when they're going out of PR mode and going into human mode, which is normally how they are with us, thankfully, they're like, could I extract as an engineer the lap time that, Jorg could out of a 2RS or 3RS? No, they're using it when they buy these cars to get an idea of what other brands do well, what can we learn from other brands, more so than how fast is this car compared to us. Like, GM benches their own vehicles primarily. Like, how much faster is this than a C7 ZR-1?
Sure, of course.
Or a C8 ZR6?
Yeah, of course.
And for Ford, I don't quite, I'm being honest, I don't want to speak for Steve and the Multimatic or Ford Racing guys, but I know they looked a lot of, like, that is a high downforce active aero car. What can we learn from that that we can use in our vehicle, while also taking a different approach? Where the 3RS, if you talk to Holger Bartels, is actually the sort of the brain behind the V-Dyne at Porsche for that car.
Okay.
AP is obviously the face of GT program, but Holger's the lead, one of the lead V-Dyne guys on like how the car drives. He's like, I don't give a shit about street dynamics. It just needs to be fast and a perfect car.
Yeah.
Where Ford, a perfect track car.
Sure.
Where Ford, it's in their eyes, the way the 3RS rides on the street is unacceptable. Which, to be fair, it's a terrible street car.
Sure.
If you guys
Yeah.
have driven them around.
Yeah, yeah.
Where the GTD, when you raise it out of track mode, it drives around. Honestly, it's a big testament how great the GT500 is. Reminds you of a regular GT500 when you roll around on the street, which is one of the cool things about that car. So sort of why they buy benchmarks isn't entirely to see what's faster. It's what can we learn from these other really talented engineers. That's the part I find interesting.
Okay, can you share anything about any of the teams and what they would have wanted to do? If only we would have been allowed to not put an HVAC system in a stereo in the Mustang GTD. It would have been, just think, 1,000 pounds lighter. It would still be a heavy 3,400 pound car. Wait, sorry, not to open the can of worms about weight, but
no.
Are there any things that you can share like they would have wanted to do, but that's the hallmark of a great engineer and a great designer is you're not designing for yourself. You're designing for a particular market. And these aren't race cars, even though the GT3 RS, you could say
they're trying to be
kind of right on the cusp, and that's why it's not so great a street car, even though it makes you feel like one on the.
We can both answer this question. You go first, Mark.
Yeah, I just have to be careful because I don't, like some of this is behind the scenes stuff.
I ask tongue in cheek, and I ask at the lightest level.
Yeah, no, there were stuff that they wanted to do. I think it's less on the Porsche side. The Porsche side,
Porsche.
Yeah, I think they already got what they want. They have the leadership in place from top down to know what a GT car program is. Their identity is locked into place. I know that those guys would prefer that they didn't have to deal with all the other things like, trying to get GT car teams to try to figure out how Macan works. I know that's what their biggest thing is like, how do we take our engineers and then spread them across the board? They would rather just focus on the cool stuff, right? Yeah. But that's
shaving
not how
tents,
it works.
Right?
Yeah, but in terms of their cars, I think they're happy with them as much as they can be.
And they had nothing to lose, candidly, right? The GT3 RS has been out for 3 years.
Yeah.
The 2RS is coming along the lines. They're like, if we lose...
Yeah, we got a GT2 RS,
come spend $500,000 instead with us, and we can go even faster.
Well, and they're known to be the benchmark too.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they just have the confidence in knowing their next car that's in the pipeline is going to blow them all away anyway. So it's just like, okay, wait till this thing comes out. But for Ford and Chevy, they are in a different place because their teams are spread out. Well, not so much Corvette, but Ford, they have to do different things. And that's why Ford is very interesting because Ford Performance or now Ford Racing, they have some of the widest breadth of knowledge because they're working on street car programs, trucks, like this massive discipline of this wide range of products that they can, work together on to get these things. While they might not be as focused as like the GT car program, they definitely know a lot. And I think that was what was most surprising to us is like just the wealth of knowledge and then bringing and not being shy to bring in a brand like Multimatic, who's just bread and butter is building race cars. Like these guys, this is what they do. There's nobody that's going to touch them unless you go to some other like very boutique like race brand, but they couldn't build something like that at scale. So they were smart in the direction they wanted to go, but like every single car, I think Ford, and they didn't say this directly, but you're starting with a regular Mustang body in white.
Yep.
And they've said it, it's part of the process of the assembly.
And that's their biggest hindrance point of that car is that it's at its core. I mean, what I mean is body in white. It's literally the front subframe and up to the C pillar of that car is S650. But it's hard to not state that I'm sure, just like they wish on a GT500 and on a F-150, that for a Ford racing product, they wish it was maybe a more bespoke platform to build on it.
I think they wanted it to be more race car. I think they wanted that car to be more GT3 race car, where you had a bespoke engine, bespoke body, but they told us, like the design leader, he's like, this would be over $1 million car, and we had to make a decision of
comes down to their ability to convince leadership. That's really what car design is.
No, that's what it is. Do they want to build $1 million Mustang? And the answer was no. It's probably too big of a risk. Although they didn't say that. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they knew the confines they were working in. And yes, from the engineering mindset, they would want a totally bespoke car front to back, which wasn't practical. And the same thing, I think, more or less with the Corvette team, because Corvette has to...
within a box of what Corvette is, always.
Yes. They have to have a supply chain of certain parts that scale across the board. So even though the C8 was designed to be a Stingray all the way up to a ZR-1X from day one, they knew this. They still had to buy a supply chain that could scale across these entire range of cars. While it's still a Corvette, they are vastly different.
And actually build them. I think that their confine of why Z06 and ZR-1 have similar components is also from a supply chain perspective. The interesting thing is, to Mark's point, they have no delusion when you talk to the engineers of what brands they work for. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that within the confines of what they have to do. Porsche is unique in that if you have money, you can make it happen at Porsche. Right? Like if you're a customer and you're willing to break out the pocketbook, you can do whatever the hell you want as long as it says 911 at the end of it.
Right.
And that is incredibly impressive. And I've had this conversation with Andy and Holger and multiple people internally at Porsche, like wearing my engineering cap of like, hey, I'm sure you guys realize this, what a blessing it is that your customers have largely unlimited money at a certain point, at least in their eyes. Like the average 911 buyer makes something like $900,000 a year of HHI, like that's their household income. So at a certain point, $50,000, $60,000 change if you want it isn't going to be a big deal. So they can build whatever they want. I told this to AP, I'm like, you could literally put a Porsche badge in a dumpster and someone would buy it. Like you're in a lucky spot where conversely, they look at someone like GM, and I know of talking to people like Holger, they're like, it is amazing they can build as many cars as they can for as little as they can, right? Like that's something they look at them and like, holy hell, how can you build a $225,000 1,000 horsepower car with a warranty? And for it to work, to genuinely work is impressive. But if you're a Corvette engineer, you're like, I wish I could do X, Y, and Z. But within the confines of like a ZR-1, even with the ZTK package, it's still got to be a streetable car, right?
Yeah.
In their mind, their customer base, thinking the people who buy Corvettes over 55 years old, different socioeconomic bracket, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to roll around in a car with no AC that rattles out your teeth, that has no trunk, no frunk, crazy buckets that you can't get in and out of. And then the Ford part for Ford Racing with Multimatic, their buyer is someone who's raising their hand to buy this car that is bought into Multimatic and Ford Racing. Like one of our viewers who came to our shoot, Alex, who owns both a GT3 RS and a GTD, he's that person. He bought into what they want, what they're trying to accomplish. And Ford Racing with Multimatic is giving them that sort of like truly far more boutique than even a 3RS. Like, you want anything to this car, color, interior, not interior, but what color you want, and you want a handmade vehicle, they'll give it to you as well. They just have the confines of being Ford, having to use their supply chain as well.
Certainly.
So
Paul has said,
I don't know if that's a non-answer, but it's sort of like, I thought like you that the engineers wanted to build something, build some car like we wanted.
Yeah.
Once they're in these teams and they've been working with them, they just want to build the best product they can within the bubble of what their car is.
The confines. I mean, Paul has said since the C8 first got introduced and we first drove it, and of course we owned one for a couple of years, he said it is the most compromised sports car of all time and somehow still works because of all the things, between the golf clubs in the trunk for the huge back and has to have a frunk and good AC. And by the way, this, to your point, we've got to have a ZR-1 that's also convertible. What are we doing? And has to have a warranty. How are all three of those things going to work on the same sheet? I mean, that's just a crazy list of parameters to work under. But it's cool to hear kind of what you guys are hearing behind the scenes. And I have to applaud you because the scale of something like this, even though you're confining it to a racetrack geographically, the fact that you could get all the pieces there, it's because you guys do something that nobody else really does, and I just want to applaud you for that. Because I'm not standing in the shop ever talking about struts. That's just not not my gift. I don't do it well, but you guys have nailed it, which is awesome.
To answer your question, Jack, absolutely yes. And again, the addendum was you made it relatable still, and you still had your opinions, and kind of left it out there. Agree, disagree. Here's why. I still prefer the big dumb
we're
animal.
just two assholes with an opinion after all, right?
Yeah, I'm only going to give you and your viewers one follow-up to kind of explain it, because I've had to do a lot of thinking about exactly the question you had about what the engineers want to do. And I think on the outside, as an enthusiast or somebody that likes cars, you don't think about this. Probably the most important part about a modern car is to scale it out, whether it's a RAV4, a Camry. They all have to buy into a specific component, like a brake system, a steering box system, a differential system. They all have to buy these common parts to go across a certain lineup of cars. And what it does is it really locks you in to the mechanical strengths and weaknesses of that certain part. You can even go as far as like a gearbox, for example, like the shared gearbox stuff. You can get in a car that might have the same identical family of gearbox, and you get into another brand and it's the same thing essentially, but it feels so much better in another car. A lot of the tuning comes down to different models now with the strength of the engineers in terms of their controls, of how well they can calibrate these things to feel good or bad or different. Or in the case of like the Corvette, their brake-by-wire system is not, it's great on a street car, but it's not great at the absolute extreme limit as the brake booster system in the GTD, where they had a different piece of hardware. While
Continental versus Bosch in this case.
Exactly. In these two different pieces of hardware have a major difference in how you can calibrate them digitally. So the GTD really still, they both have electronic systems, but the way they were able to tune the GTD was far superior than that of the Corvette. And this is where the nuance of newer cars and sports cars gets so different from the engineering of what can they do maxing out their controls before they have to switch hardware. And that's my point, is you can't, like, let's say the Corvette, they don't like the brake feel at the end of the day. They've done everything they can on the control side. They literally cannot change the hardware because it's in every single car and they're not going to do a one-off. And that's where these discussions of learning how all this stuff works get very interesting. And that's where I think the engineers feel like, I wish we could do more. Like, we know we have a problem, but we can't switch either a different model or a different supplier for this one car to make it better, because you're wrapped into that 5 to 10, maybe even 10-year life cycle sometimes. That's what a lot of people don't understand about these cars.
And to clarify, when he says braking hardware, the GTD and the ZR-1, now the ZR-1 is moving to 10-piston Alcon, but they are both fundamentally using the same caliper setup. They're carbon ceramics with the same kind of strand formula in the disc, and they're both Brembo supplied. He means the actual brake pedal feel, because a lot of modern cars, like all S650 Mustangs, all modern M cars, all non-GT based Porsche products, all use an electronic brake booster. And there's, because you have to blend in regen in certain models with hybrid based cars. Some of it's due to packaging as well. Not having a vacuum based brake system allows you to have a tighter packaging in the front end. In the case of the Corvette, that helps as well with their frunk design. So it is interesting. Like, a lot of it comes down to how they calibrate all these systems, not just the hardware, which car has the most power or what the braking system is or the tires. It's the controls engineers are a lot of how this stuff actually drives now.
Yeah, and they're trying to maximize what they have out of the hardware, right? They've like, this is all we can get out of the hardware without switching.
This is our
and
brake
that's the stuff
controller.
that I didn't
These are
know,
our parts.
even like 10 years ago.
Well, the transmission was a perfect example when you were talking about the Ford and the Corvette. The transmission was, fascinating to know about, you know? And I'm going to code the crap out of that thing. I'm going to re-extract what we need for our program.
So I'm going to bring it full circle. We're talking about forced into products from certain manufacturers. So, Mark, the question is, does the Murano get the driveline from the Z car or the GTR? I mean, let's just, if you're going to keep it, let's just make it the best Murano cross cabriolet ever. Let's just do it, man. Let's go.
Lightning round, go.
You'd have to do it with less torque because of the body rigidity. So whatever the drivetrain is with less torque would be ideal.
Got it. Okay. All right. I was just trying to, let's get it away from the CVT. Let's put a Nissan drivetrain in there that's more fun, and let's make the world's greatest Murano convertible. You're guaranteed to keep your money. I mean, you're not. But anyway, there we are.
Yeah, so when Mark's homeless because he bankrupts himself over Murano, I'll let you guys know.
What a great way to go out, though. I mean, talk about going out with on fire. But anyway, I hear you.
You guys did an incredible job. I mean, we've had private cars on a lot of our shoots, and I think you guys know this sort of sentiment well. If people are watching and they're watching our stand-ups at the end, our final thoughts, and we don't choose their car, they're kind of disappointed and maybe a little bit pissed off at us.
People have walked off set. I've watched it in the background, like the peripheral of my vision,
Thinking.
like that guy's leaving right now and he's going to go off, be quiet for a bit.
So now, was there any of that as you did your wrap-ups, or are these teams just now finding out about your sentiments? And I would love to think they're back in their Monday morning meetings going, hey, did you see that thing that Ford did over there? We should think about, or Corvette did this. I had no idea. What a great idea. We should think about this. And
were they aware before they left, I guess, is part of the question.
Yes.
We were very transparent with them the whole time. It was like, obviously lap times they knew immediately they were there for it, but even our own like internal sentiments, like they had seen our pieces on the other cars going into this.
Okay.
So they sort of knew what we were thinking. I didn't think, to be honest, my big surprise of the shoot to me is still not just the speed part, but how different the same car can feel on two different tracks. That's one of the things that I thought of, where like at Coda, the ZR-1 is so well suited for that track, and that it's like you never get an ABS, so the brake feel problem isn't a problem there, because you just never get an ABS because the track is so smooth in all the big high-speed braking zones, and it's not tight, so any of its sort of difficulty to drive in tight sections never pops up there. And in Autobahn, because it's so tight, you're like, oh shit, that's legitimately the hardest I've ever had to work to drive any car in my entire life.
So hard that you got Mark 6. I love how we keep coming back. It's awesome. Exactly. No, guys, it's awesome to have you.
Well, you asked the one thing, like, did they know? And yes, they always know. It's part of the way that I look at modern media is it needs to evolve. There's a big problem with transparency in modern media, and I'm not saying that we're right. We make a lot of mistakes, and that's just part of being human. And I own up to that all the time, because you have to. To try to be perfect is impossible, but the transparency between the people you're working with, I don't think a lot of media understands the fallout of what you can do to certain people. And I didn't always think this way, but I think of it this way now. What I do can actually affect one of those engineers that is helping us on the back end, and can have effect on not only his private life at work, it can have effect on the PR people that went to bat to do this. And the last thing, especially in an economy like this, is you don't want to cause somebody to potentially, or just have a problem. And that's one of the things you have to be careful with, because we're independent. But I used to work in the corporate world. I know how things roll downhill. So I'm very careful with that compared to a lot of people that we see in this industry. There was one thing they asked to be removed. Oddly enough, the funniest part that they did not want in the video, and I'm not going to say who it was, but there was a shot in the Murano where we had Depends in the car with them, and the Depends went flying and knocked the car into neutral. It hit the shifter, and the engineer had to move the Depends, and they thought that the CVT blew up, and it started revving. They're like, oh my God, is that supposed to do it? He's like, oh no, the Depends hit the shifter. And I wanted that in the video so bad. I wanted it in there so bad because you could hear them talking about the Depends. It's like, seriously? But they were concerned that it would make the engineers look bad for talking about Depends. So I had to cut it. But I mean, it's just like, that was the only thing they were concerned about.
I love it. That's amazing.
I was talking to the PR guy. I'm like, are we really having this conversation about engineers in a Murano and adult diapers? But I guess we are.
Okay. Well, that's really why we spend time with you, with stories like that. I mean, that's, how would that have come out otherwise? I love it. That's amazing. Well, it's awesome to have you guys on. You have the distinction of being our first ever video guest on the podcast, which is really cool. As you guys are aware, if you watch Savage Geese at all, they have such high quality that they are actually probably going to look the best of any of our guests, because they've actually double shot this versus just a Zoom call, which gives us options, which is awesome, because you guys are one of the few that care about production quality, and that resonates with me like crazy. So I have to be hats off to you for that as well. And it's just awesome to hang with you for a bit. So thank you.
Great. Guys, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. I love the stories. We want more stories. We talked about last time we had you on, we had to have you back. So this seemed like perfect timing, and really great to see you guys again. So
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And if you haven't seen this monster piece, you have to.
Yeah. See, now knowing the backstory and hearing it from them, now when you're watching the piece, And all you're going to be thinking about is Depends with the Murano convertible driving around the track full of engineers and PR people.
And then at some point, we have to get in all these
about.
cars as well, but we will not have the track element or the race car driver or the definitiveness, but it'll still be fun.
Engineering teams, but that's okay. We'll still drive them.
We will, yes.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, and all your viewers. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us ramble.
It's good to have you guys as always. Hope to see you soon. Awesome to have those guys on. It's been a long time. And as Jack said, we see them. Now, we don't go to a lot of launches, but we see them, I would say, about every other time we go to a launch, we get to see them and hang out with them, and they're always, frankly, working way too hard. They bring cases and cases of gear. You and I, over the years, have steadily tried to make the amount of casings we bring less and still get good quality. Those guys are hanging on with lots of cases, and they get great quality work. It's always very impressive.
Technology has changed the game for us because tech has fully changed all of our gear and made it obviously a lot lighter. Before we jump to car debates, I want to cover Hooked on Driving dates through the end of 2025 very quickly. We have Saturday, November 29th and Sunday, November 30th. That is Thanksgiving weekend coming up fast. Virginia International Raceway, VIR, with our Mid-Atlantic region. Devin and Ryan run a great event out there, along with assist from Heather. So they are running incredible events, and they've got great dates at VIR Thanksgiving weekend.
From the family for just a day. We all know what Thanksgiving's like. It's the perfect encapsulation of good and bad with family. There's all the good, and there's all the I got to get out of here. Maybe that's where you get out of here. You just go out to VIR. I love it.
Thunderhill Raceway, 3 mile and 5 mile. So Saturday, December 13th at Thunderhill Raceway is 3 mile. And Sunday, December 14th is the 5 mile configuration. We would love to have you. As a matter of fact, you and I are going to be in attendance. And then coming up, just to put a note out there, just so you know, 2026 pre-buy nationwide begins December 15th. And runs until January 15th. So a month to get a discounted pre-buy for track days in 2026 with Hooked on Driving.
For Hooked on Driving nationwide, it'll be the best discounts you can get for the calendar year to pre-buy your track days that way, which is going to be really, really good. Also, we have our first of multiple Europe trips next year, multiple adventures we're going to do with both brands. This is Spain and Portugal. That is April 24th to 29th, 2026. We're talking about middle of next year now, Paul. But we're going to be in Seville, Spain. We're going to be in Portimao, Portugal. There's tracks by both of those. The tracks are awesome. This is a very spouse-friendly trip. There's going to be a walking tour of Seville. The scenery is going to be awesome. This is the trip to come on and to bring the person in your life that you love more than anything but doesn't love cars as much as they love you. They're like, I don't know about the cars and the tracking. This is the trip. So we'd love to have you come. There's still space at that trip. That'll be cool. Also, keep in mind, we are doing all of our normal Europe trips, which means the pilgrimage trip is coming back. Right now, we think it's going to be August. I can't give you official dates yet. We think it's going to be August. We will give you official dates as soon as we have them. That'll be a few weeks up.
That could change.
It could change.
But that's what we're thinking right now.
So that's probably going to happen in August. There's going to be other events domestically where we're going to have our typical road tours, probably connected to a Hooked on Driving track day as well. Lots of cool stuff coming next year. I can't wait to share some of it. We're just not quite there yet.
We're adding FCP Euro as our partners and supporters for both Everyday Driver and Hooked on Driving. For nearly 40 years, FCP Euro has been an industry-leading supplier of genuine, original equipment and OEM parts and performance upgrades for European cars.
That means BMW, Audi, Volkswagen, Mini, Mercedes, Volvo, Porsche, and even Saab. Paul, you have to call your brother-in-law and tell him FCP Euro is the place because, as I just said, even Saab. We're putting it in the ad. Anyway.
They offer a lifetime replacement guarantee on everything, including consumables like brake pads, wiper blades, and even oil filters. Buy a replacement, send back the old one, and receive a credit for the full amount.
For your Saab!
Plus, FCP Euro offers free economy shipping on orders over $49 and a 90-day hassle-free return policy for new, unused, and uninstalled parts.
So visit FCP Euro today for more than 300,000 parts ready to ship for your European car and your Saab. FCPEuro.com.
We've still got time for 2 car debates on this episode. Thanks again to the Geese guys for coming on. It was so great to talk to them and just hear the backstories and just hear all about the engineers doing their thing and
how hard those guys fight to put those things together.
Yeah.
I mean, we
that
relate
resonated with me because it is hard to get 3 cars on camera, not to mention engineering teams at a specific day at a track.
The reality is the
9 months.
reason that most people don't do comparisons on YouTube is because just getting even 2 cars together is hard. And we have fought about it, and you've done the good fight for years for us. We have fought through it since the beginning of this show because we want to have that back-to-back comparison, like the lightweights piece, like the other stuff that we have coming later this year. It's hard to do. And invariably, when we do it, cars are changing and schedule is changing up to within 24, 48 hours of when the cars show up.
Yeah.
And we also end up driving to the location every single time going, well, I hope they all wind up here. So it's a fight. It's very different than just like, I got a car on camera. Awesome. You got 3 cars on camera, 5 cars on camera. Big deal.
Not until it drops on YouTube does it mean it's real.
That's true.
Because footage can be lost.
Oh, I know.
Things can be written over.
In spite of backups.
It's a fight.
Yeah, I had behind the scenes, I had a thing recently where I deleted the wrong camera at the wrong time. Luckily, it was an angle we don't need much. But I deleted it and then had this like pit in my stomach like, that was the master file, and instead of copying it, I just deleted it, didn't I? And then I was like, oh, thank God it was that angle and not the other angle. Anyway, it happens. Stuff happens in spite of all the backups. Anyway, thank you guys for being with us. We're going to dive into the car debate. The first one is for Kyle, and he's writing in, and he wants to start with a roast of both Paul and I. So I'm going to read the Paul roast real quick, and then you can read the one for me, and then we'll get into the actual debate. He says his roast is he's listening along, and listener number 1, theoretical listener number 1, says, I'm looking for a passenger van to get myself and my 9 children to church on Sunday. And Paul comes through with, well, have you considered a Porsche Cayman and 9 separate trips? Or maybe put some of the children up for adoption. That'll solve it. That seems like something you do, probably without a budget either. The budget's going to be like 30 grand and you're going to do like 70.
I'm going to blow
get a
up the
really
budget.
nice Cayman, yeah.
Okay, theoretical debate number 2. Again, with the roast, he's roasting Todd now. Listener number 2 says, I need a new 3/4-ton truck to tow my 35-foot boat to the launch and back. What do you suggest? Todd would say, have you thought about selling the boat, buying 2 low tie and 2 large inflatable rubber duckies? That could be fun.
I don't see the problem with that answer. I really don't. Boats and lakes are one of those things where you see, they're like the first Instagram influencers. Anytime you see somebody on a lake, you're like, oh, that looks amazing. But when you're up at 6 a.m. and you're filling with 100 gallons of gas and it's cold and you're putting the boat in the water, it feels pretty different. I'm just saying.
Agreed.
Yeah, anyway.
Agreed. Kyle, thank you for the roast. Really appreciate it.
It's very good.
He poses his own real-life daily driver debate. He's considering a new daily to replace his Jeep Gladiator.
Okay.
Like how I tied in the Jeep news
Well done. I like it.
Kyle's
Good.
debate
Yep.
here. The Gladiator has served Kyle incredibly well for the last 4 years and 110,000 miles. So that is close to 30,000 miles a year.
That's really good. I'm very
somewhere in
impressed,
there. But Kyle feels it's time to move on to something more exciting and appropriate for his current lifestyle. He loves the ability to bomb that truck Jeep love child around a corner over a curb and not have to worry about it breaking a sweater or a front splitter.
So in other words, he hits something and just kind of goes, huh.
Did you feel that? Nope, I didn't. It means it wasn't there. He says the Gladiator's utility is unmatched, but its qualifications in the speed and acceleration department are subpar, to put it nicely.
Mm-hmm. Unless you have the 4xe or the 392 and it changes the world.
Well, the 4xe would be parked and not driven.
You're right. It was really good, but now it's parked.
That's where we come in. Kyle remembers a Chrysler 300S he had for a brief moment. He says he remembers it through rose-colored glasses. He liked the power it had to reel in the long straightaways, the wanton Michigan freeway system in near-perfect silence. He would like to recreate or improve on that experience. So Kyle's in the Detroit area.
Yeah, he doesn't have nice things to say about the roads. He says they are war-torn. So he likes having something that can handle the beating. That's definitely key here.
He says the criteria he would like to meet as follows. He wants all-wheel drive for the Michigan winters to weed out the weak and people from Ohio. Those are Kyle's words, not ours. Those are fighting words.
Okay,
I didn't
all right.
realize Michigan and Ohio had a rivalry.
Apparently there's a thing. They're standing there with pitchforks in the
All right.
winter. I don't know. Yeah.
He says Kyle needs enough power to make his girlfriend ask about his life insurance policy.
That is a new way to put it. I really like that, Kyle. Enough power for her to ask. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. So that means more than 300 horsepower, so the
Right.
86 is out. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So here's the catch. Kyle is a professional canine handler, and his dog must go with him everywhere. So there must be enough space or a sizable dog kennel to fit in the back seat or trunk. Currently fits in the back seat of his Gladiator, but barely. That back seat's not very large.
It's not, and makes me wonder, and this keeps coming up in this conversation, Kyle, how big of a kennel are we talking about? Because you're saying you're putting the dog kennel, the crate essentially, into the back seat of your Gladiator, and it barely fits. But that takes so many things off the table instantly, and I also wonder, and we're going to get there, you may have to shop and take the crate with you. Not the dog, maybe the dog too, but the crate. You know, some people have taken their car seats on our recommendation. You're going to have to take your dog crate and be like, does this fit? Anyway, onward.
What about a Honda Element? Well, it's not 300 horsepower. It's
not
not all-wheel drive.
And not made anymore.
That's the dog car,
It is.
right?
It is one of them, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Kyle doesn't care about the transmission as long as he's got the ability to shift it of his own accord. He says an automatic is fine. His budget is around $50,000 or a pull limiter of 2 carbon mountain bikes.
So what are we saying? A $7,000 mountain bike? So you got an extra $14,000 to work with? Is that a decent guess?
I can work with that.
$5,000 to $7,000 per bike, 2 of them. I'll give you 10 to $14,000.
7 to 9 carbon frame mountain bikes.
No, but the carbon frame isn't the problem. It's the fact that you get all the latest tech, including the wireless thing.
All right,
you can get
$7,000.
a carbon bike for $5,000 to $7,000.
Okay,
definitely.
fair.
So I'll give you 7. So okay, you got $14,000 to work with. So $64,000 for you, Paul.
I can do that.
There you go.
We
Like
can
it.
get that done. Kyle's contenders include the Audi S5, Kia Stinger, Dodge Durango Hemi, the new Dodge Charger Hurricane 4-door, get the 6-pack engine,
I guess. Yep.
and the Ford Explorer ST. I'm not sure why that's on your list. Do not get a Ford Explorer ST. I would avoid that one.
I mean, it is a dynamic Ford SUV. It is. I just don't know that that's a top choice.
Right away here, Kyle, I've got 3 choices for you. We can definitely get it done for $64,000 or less. I'm showing a 2018 Cayenne on screen, but any Porsche Cayenne for $64,000 or under is your choice. The kennel, the dog crate will fit right in the back. It'll be great high mileage road trip car. It'll be comfortable, all-wheel drive, plenty of power. I think it checks all of the boxes. Interesting. I think this is probably among my top choice for you, Kyle.
I see it. It's actually on my list as well, yeah.
But you could consider the new 4Runner because these are pretty
really?
awesome.
Okay.
I think the kennel. Keep saying the kennel. The crate.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, yeah.
Keep fitting in the back of this.
Yeah, for sure.
I see kind of an SUV in your future, but the Cayenne will certainly drive better than the 4Runner. But I also wanted to suggest the new RAV4 GR Sport.
Okay. All right.
Because you said 300 horsepower or above. This is 320 horsepower.
It is, yep.
All-wheel drive. It's a plug-in EV, and Toyota is claiming at least, about 48 miles of EV range for the GR Sport. And they are adamant about making all of their new GR Sport nomenclature models to have some motorsports enthusiast kind of feeling. And we drove one recently, and we liked it. It's still an SUV that is trying to be a sports car, but any SUV that has performance parts on it will always be inherently an SUV.
Yes, that will always be its problem.
But that's okay. This has a nice EV range. This has good power, and it's got all the latest Toyota tech. It's modern. I think it's great looking. I think this could be a consideration for you, and easily $64K and under. I think you can get it done. All 3 of these.
I'm worried about these
Kinda
being
leaning-
$50,000 new, but what I'm really
they're gonna be at
curious
least
about
that, yeah.
is I'm very curious about putting this with some other performance SUVs and having a real comparison. That's coming up on our short list for 2026.
Yeah, I would like to do that. So you've got 3 choices. Cayenne's way up there, but you can't really ignore the GR Sport nomenclature because it's got a lot of power and it's got that EV range. If you're going for a Cayenne of the similar kind of specs, I don't know that you can get the same plug-in range as the RAV4 because yours does
can't.
what, 11?
Mine does 14,
14.
In best conditions.
Okay.
Now the newer ones will do more than that, but where is the breakover? Because again, I have a 2nd-gen, not a 3rd-gen Cayenne, so there's that as well. Okay. I'm going to jump right in as well, and that is I see your Kia Stinger. I want to bring that up real quick and talk about the Kia Stinger. I think that the Kia Stinger is more interesting here than the Audi S5.
I agree, yeah.
Now, what I wonder about the Kia Stinger is what I don't know in all of these scenarios is how big is this dog crate?
It's a great looking car.
It's a great looking car. Does the dog crate fit in a Kia Stinger? I assume it will. That creates some options there, but I think the Kia Stinger is an interesting option. A part of me wants to suggest a Panamera, but I think I think the slope of it is going to be too much for the dog crate.
Back glass,
Yeah,
the
so I
backlight.
think the Kia Stinger is an interesting option, but again, you're going to have to shop with the dog crate. That's key here. You mentioned seriously, absolutely. You mentioned the Durango, but the Durango to get is the Hellcat Durango. Come on now. You have seriously the market for these.
Dog's like, stop accelerating.
Seriously, you want to hear dog barf? Actually, here's the thing: nothing wakes you up out of a dead sleep and gets you moving faster than the sound of a dog about to puke. That is the world's greatest alarm. I am telling you, you could go from dead sleep to the most awake you've ever been with the initial sound of the dog just going, I think something's happening. It's the worst ever. I say that as a multi-dog owner. Anyway, no, but the Hellcat Durango, okay, this is an old car, but in Hellcat form, it's pretty compelling. And the market for these starts at $60 for used ones. You can get them as high as $100 that are close to brand new, but starts at $60. If we're talking $50,000 is where you want to be, plus the price of 2 carbon mountain bikes, welcome to Hellcat Durango land.
I think you're talking used, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're still on sale,
They're still on sale for around $100,000, but I'm saying you can go get them right now, used, starting at about $60,000 for a Hellcat Durango. That is a lot of performance.
That's a lot of car.
It's really compelling. It's got a lot of personality, and because you already have a Stellantis product that you like, I really like this for you.
Okay, so throw out the EV range. I mean, screw that when you can
when Hellcats are better. I'm going to also bring up the Stelvio, my favorite Stelvio picture, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio at the Stelvio Pass, the Stelvio QV.
Yeah, that's
I think
good.
This is compelling because this is,
yeah.
you're talking about the war-torn Michigan streets. This is still an SUV. This is all-wheel drive power that you get from the Giulia Quadrifoglio I like so much, but now it's all-wheel drive, that same really compelling engine. You don't see these everywhere. This is a really interesting alt for you. I really like this. Of course, the Cayenne is a contender. You already brought it up, but I think the Stelvio, the thing about the Stelvio is that it is the alt here. It is the one you're not going to see as many of. It's going to be harder to find, but I really do like the Stelvio. You brought up the Cayenne. I as a Cayenne owner, I'll just nod in agreement, and we'll move on to a couple of wild cards I have for you. There's the Ram TRX.
Anything with the Hellcat engine,
yes,
apparently.
But the Ram TRX, because look, you have a Gladiator, okay? What is the step up from a Gladiator? It's the Ram
really
TRX.
Want to get bad fuel mileage.
Seriously, if you haven't gotten enough bad gas mileage, let me walk you right over here to the Ram TRX. So that's an option. But then how about a Rivian R1S? I thought about this a lot.
Interesting.
Because you haven't told us, like big road trips and stuff, you've said you want your girlfriend to ask about your life insurance because it's so fast. You get a quad motor one of these, you're running sports car times.
How about almost triple your horsepower limit? This is what, close to 900?
It's
850.
Ridiculous how much power this thing has. So the Rivian R1S quad motor, but here's the thing, even the dual motor is quick.
Yeah, the dual motor.
This has tons of space.
Fast.
They're very unique. You can find them out there. And the reality is, because of what they are, the used prices are in your benefit and terrible for resale. $60,000. Go find a Rivian R1S. Just go find one. I mean, these are $100,000 vehicles, but with 50 to 60 grand in your pocket, you can go Rivian shopping right now. It's a wild card because you didn't bring up EVs, but what you're wanting is completely accomplished here. The worst roads on the worst day in Michigan, fine. You've got liftable suspension. If it gets really war-torn, there's going to be plenty of space for the dog, either in the full hatch of the back or possibly in the back seat, depending. Tons of power. It feels luxurious. We have a review of one of these coming up in a comparison pretty soon. And if for whatever reason you don't want the full back, you can stay in Gladiator style and go electric and get the R1T.
You
so
could.
I'm in wild card land, but I
Gladiator.
really think you should consider the Rivians.
So maybe leave the EV thing to Rivian, not so much Stellantis, because they haven't quite figured it out yet.
Not so much.
But in any of these, you don't want dog barf in any of these, especially the Rivian. Probably you don't want that in the back, like you don't want turducken juice in the back of your Range Rover, because you'll never get the stank out. So just know that. Just check that, in the back of your mind.
I'm telling you want to motivate somebody to do something. The sound of a dog about to puke will motivate anybody to be like, yes, sir, I am paying attention. What is it you need?
In that last podcast, we were talking about SEMA builds. I came up with a Rivian and somebody doing something with the Rivian and dropping a Hellcat engine in an R1S quad motor. I mean, obviously all the motors. Okay, just plop the body on a chassis on the body on frame.
There you go.
Rivian
Take
with
out
noises.
The frunk. Take out the frunk. Put an LS motor in it.
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, was it Rich Rebuilds on YouTube that did that with a Tesla? Put
Now it's time for the Rivian.
May as well for the Rivian. There we go.
Griot's Garage is our official car care partner and one of the first ever sponsors of our show. They don't just make great car care products. They want you to get out and drive.
Griot's is a family-owned company, and they've been a part of every one of our road trips. We always take speed shine on every shoot, helping us spot clean cars in a moment's notice.
Griot's foaming glass cleaner is the quickest and best way we've ever found to get windows clean before a big day of driving. Griot's is always releasing new and improved products like their updated wash bucket too.
Plus, all of Griot's liquid products are 100% guaranteed and made right here in the U.S. The Griot's folks are always happy to answer any questions you have and make sure you get the right product and the right results.
So get the best quality car care products out there from a company that has always supported this show. Our audience can always get at least 10% off by using the code DRIVER10 at griotsgarage.com. On to car debate number 2 from Gage, also in Michigan. He's out in Western Michigan. He's a college student studying to be an automotive technician, but he has an issue. Gage, thanks for writing. Really appreciate it. His 2014 Buick Regal Turbo has 140,000 miles on the clock, and he's starting to have transmission foibles. If you drain the transmission fluid and it is chocolate brown, it is time for a new transmission, my friend.
He probably knows that. But I want to stop here real quick and say, Gage, that is an awesome car. That turbo Buick Regal was underappreciated. It is an Opel.
That was the Opel, yeah.
Exactly, an Opel from Europe. The dynamics and the handling quality and the interior materials, it was so much better than it deserved to be, or you expected it to be when you got in it. We have an old review of it at this point, probably decade old at this point.
Crazy.
But that was a genuinely really good car to drive.
That was the Regal GS, the turbo.
Yeah.
Like as soon as GM gets it right, like finally we did it, discontinued.
Yes, then they kill it. So anyway, that's honestly, kudos to you for having one of those cars. That is an excellent car, actually.
Gage looked at a rebuilt transmission with around 64,000 miles on it, and it was just under $1,500, and labor would probably be close to that. So all in, Gage is estimating $3,000. So should he get a newly refurbished transmission for the car and keep driving it, or is it time for something completely different? He says the Buick is in good condition otherwise, other than the little things that would be easy to fix. Although it doesn't seem like a driver's car, it actually has some driving chops, he says. Yeah, we agree.
Absolutely.
Good power, great steering compared to the new cars that he's driven lately. He says a little loose in the body roll, but the control is decent. He says the suspension is great over the rough Michigan roads that he lives by. The only real issue that he has with it is it's really heavy for what it is.
Sure, yeah.
Same size wheelbase, only 5 inches longer than a modern-day Civic, but weighs about 3,700 pounds. His is the front-wheel drive model, so that's about 500 pounds more than a fully loaded Civic hybrid. Now he's taking the car on track. He says if done right, you can use the weight to slide around corners, but it's still obese.
Now, hang on a second, Gage. I don't disagree with anything you said about that car. It's actually a great car. I think it is a little on the heavy side. I think when we originally drove it, we had that question. But what's crazy is what 10 years have done to car weights. Because 3,700 pounds, if you're shopping for a car right now, is about average. That's about what everybody weighs.
Normal.
And so many sports cars weigh more than your car. That's what's nuts. Anyway.
Gage says if he got a different car, it would have to be an automatic because his parents cannot operate manuals. They need to be able to drive whatever car that he's got as long as he's living with them.
Understood.
It would have to be reliable because he doesn't want to be the mechanic on the side of the road fixing his own car and not a customer's vehicle.
Not at work because he's fixing his own car is a bad combination.
That's
all bad, yeah.
He says he'd love it if it had paddles for extra engagement behind the wheel. His parents don't want him to have a rear-wheel drive vehicle yet, so that's unfortunately off the table until he's living on his own.
Okay.
He would also love heated seats to endure the winter months. He also says no to trucks and SUVs because he likes sedans, hatches, and wagons better.
Okay.
If he had his preference, he'd have a hatch, but it needs to have some level of power because he likes rocketing off the line and out of his favorite backroad corners. Budget is about $10,000 to $15,000, depending on what he could get out of the Buick when he sells it. I think you should sell it. I mean, just by virtue of you writing to us the transmission issues, I think you're moving on from the Buick already.
I think that's fair.
It could be a great learning experience, but then I feel like you'd feel obligated to keep it longer than you really should once you replace the transmission yourself.
Probably true. I mean, once he gets that done, it's going to be like, well, I got so much money in this now, I should keep it, and he probably shouldn't. I hear that.
I do have choices for you.
Okay.
Gage, I'm jumping in here with first choice, 2014 Acura TL. This has power, my friend. The V6 has 280 horsepower. Let's see here. It's got you can find the technology package, heated seats, paddle shift, front wheel drive, and that great 3.5 liter V6 and super handling all-wheel drive. This would be a great luxury car.
Sure, yeah.
And they all the ones that I found on Auto Tempest are all $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the miles, depending on the year. That is, I think, something you should consider. But I thought, what else comes with that great V6 from Honda? And that is the Accord Coupe. a little bit sportier.
Oh, interesting.
But
Okay.
it keeps you in the Accord, Camry kind of sedan land that it isn't too far out there, but it's the coupe. And we always really liked these. It was sort of the missing element, the sleeper thing. And I wish Honda still built the Accord coupe, but of course they've got better cars in the Civic now. But this also 2017, so it moves you a little bit newer car. The miles are still about the same, depending. 2016, 2017 is what I'm recommending. In this car, it's that 3.5 liter V6 making 278 horsepower, 252 pound-feet of torque. They're rare. They're good looking. Check this out. The rear view, that's a sharp looking car.
It is a pretty good looking car.
It says
I
a
agree.
little bit sporty, but it adheres to all of your requirements that you need. Great power, but still front wheel drive, automatic, fun to drive, paddles, heated seats, and it's a Honda. Thing's going to run. And you don't want to have to be the mechanic constantly fixing your own car. Welcome to a Honda Accord Coupe, my friend. That is what I think you should get. And I think we're done there.
Okay. All right. I like that. That's really good. I had a similar dilemma because I started with a car and went, and I'm done. And then I thought, you know what? I should do better for Gage than that. I'm going to go more than one car. So I'm going to jump in with this is the only car to look at. The Hyundai Veloster N.
Are those 10 to 15,000?
Hang on. Power, DCT, super fun to drive, front wheel drive, hatch. It's everything except they start at 20.
Okay, because
So-
if they were $10,000 to $15,000, I was about to leave, get up, and go buy one.
You might find a few that are like 18 or whatever, but the reality is you're going to spend close to 20 grand. And Gage, you haven't been specific enough. I don't know if you can, but I think this is your answer, your full stop answer. Is the Veloster N DCT. These are not hanging on to their value very well. They are great to drive. It's the same driveline as they're still making in the Elantra N. So it's not like this was a one-off and they're not making parts for it anymore. I think this is your answer. I just don't know if you can swing it. And so that's why I moved on, because I was like, that is my sniper shot and I'd love to just walk away.
Yes.
But I think I'm above the budget. So
I
that's
love
why,
it. I mean,
that's
if
why,
you can,
yeah.
forget everything I just said and just go buy one of these. Just forget it all.
You see where my head was at. I was like, that's the answer. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's a little above where he wants to be, I think. So I'm going to have to walk away. So I have other options. Like the third gen Mini Cooper. This is the one starting at 2014. Okay. Now I have the first gen. That's the one that I had. Spot the Mini was a first gen, the R53. All right. And that into 2006. The second gen, you notice this is 2014, which means 07 to 2013. Don't do that. Those were not reliable. They have consistent problems. But starting here in 2014, they kind of get sorted. And these, with your budget, are out there.
Are they really?
You got to look
budget?
hard, but
kidding.
around 15 or so, find yourself a Mini Cooper S. The parts are available. They're known to be fairly reliable. There's a few known issues, but compared to the two gens prior, especially the second gen, this is the reliable one. And also, it's right before they got ugly. I'm sorry, but this one goes to 2024, and now they've just got ugly wiped on top of all of them. The whole Mini lineup. It's terrible. So last time I drove one of these, we had it. Our friend Josh came down from Seattle, and we had it on one of our Utah road trips. And I drove it, and it was awesome. It's just really good. I don't think it's not as chuckable as the original R53 smaller ones, but still really along the Mini ethos. So this is my option for you there. While I'm here, Audi S3.
These are $10,000 to $15,000?
If you go far enough back. He's got a 2014 Regal.
Yeah.
Okay. 2016, 2018, that range, that's how cheap these are. These are under 20.
What kind
They're
of miles are we
consistently
talking?
under 20. I mean, they're over 60,000, 60 to 120.
Well,
that's the
not
range we're
bad.
talking about. So
Not
which
bad.
one are you shopping? You have to shop nationwide. The reality is this is going to be more luxurious, more fun, and feel more premium than your Regal. So I think this is a real option. The interesting thing about the A class, or this S in this case, but the 3, if you will, from Audi, is they have so many GTI parts, but they don't maintain their value like the GTIs. The GTIs kind of have this slow descent, and the 3s and the Audis just drop off a cliff. There's just apparently no second buyer. So
Interesting.
S3s are a possibility, but then trying to get you into something where I was thinking about a little less hair on fire, probably a little more reliable. What about a Mazda 3?
That's great.
Now, I don't know how new you're going to be able to get, but Mazda 3s have always been really good to drive, really reliable. There's tons of them out there because they sell them like crazy. If you can get this current body style wagon, this is a really solid car.
I like these the best. Of any of the Mazda 3s, the hatches, I like these the
So
best.
if you can get all the way up into the current turbo model that's all-wheel drive bonus, I don't know if you can for your budget.
I don't think
so. But Mazda 3 in any form is worthwhile. But I am just going to go right back and say it. Push for the Veloster.
Holy cow. If you could get,
Veloster and
forget
DCT,
it all.
I think that is the answer, but we'll see where you go, man. But I hope that helps.
Gage, please write to us when you do buy, because everybody looks at mechanics' cars. Everybody,
you're right.
Whatever your mechanic drives, it either gives you confidence in like, oh, well, I could have one of those. Look, if you just keep it well maintained, it runs forever. My mechanic has one, so it must be good.
True.
My mechanic chose one.
True. Yeah.
That carries a lot of weight. So you've got very careful decision making to do here. Because again, what you drive, that's a projection. People are watching what you are doing. So I think it's very interesting. But obviously you still have to get something that meets all your requirements, and you can obviously have multiple cars throughout your life. So wishing you all the best with your hunt. Please let us know what you get. And for all of you watching, listening, write to us, everydaydrivertv@gmail.com. Topic Tuesdays, car conclusions, Savage Geese, videos.
Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for watching their stuff as well. I want to send a real comment out here real quickly, and that is, we touched on it a little bit in that interview, and I want to touch on it again here. YouTube, I know, gives this impression of just fire hosing money at those of us that work hard to be creators. And I'm thankful for the platform, and thank you guys for watching podcasts like this and video comparisons like we do and like they do. But the reality is, we didn't get into this topic because I knew it would be a black hole. The last 18 months, everyone we know on YouTube, in the space of cars and everything else, everyone is down. Viewership is down, money is down, and we are thankful to you guys to be our audience and to pass it on. But remember, you can hype us. It's a whole thing you can do on the phone. Some of you are doing it, but thank you for hyping us. And actually, what helps the hyping is not even the podcast; it's the actual comparison videos. But I just want to thank all of you that are with us over time. Those of you that are our patrons, that is hugely helpful.
Yeah.
And we love that community of our patrons that are on also our Discord, and they get early access to various things, including all of our trips, early access from our patrons. But I want you guys to know that the sponsors that we align with and we talk about for you guys, we curate that massively. We get approached by so many brands that we turn down because we want to respect you guys. But it's those sponsors that keep us alive. It's not the YouTube income. The YouTube income is helpful. Please don't get me wrong. But it's the sponsorships that move this forward. And you guys as our audience are the reasons the sponsors are here. So I want you guys to understand that ecosystem. It's not just us. It's also Savage Geese. It's whoever you like on YouTube has felt this crunch this year. And I want you guys to just know that's out there, and we're thankful for you. We appreciate you as viewers, and we are very thankful to all of our sponsors because that's just massive. It keeps us alive. It's
for
great.
sure.
Yeah.
And that helps us keep looking forward to the next, which we do. Until next time. Cheers, everybody.